reference for you guys. But the hugest news, we'll say, as they say in modern English, not the band, Fernando Valenzuela's number 34 is being retired. I mean, that was met with applause, happiness, joy, as it should be. The Dodgers change, and I'm not going to call it a stupid rule, but they change a rule. They bend a rule to retire a number that's already been unofficially retired. And we know Fernando was never going to get into the Hall of Fame. He's not going to get into the Hall of Fame. If he was gonna, they would have found a way to get him in on. I mean, maybe now this sparks, this reinvigorates the conversation to get Fernando into the Hall of Fame. But reactions to 34 being officially retired. There's going to be the ceremony. What are the dates again? Noah, you got the dates, right? Mid-August, 11th to 13th is going to be Fernando weekend. Thank you. Follow at Noah Cameras. Get him to 1,000 followers on Twitter, guys. It's at Noah Cameras. They call him problematic cameras.
Cancel cameras.
Cancel cameras. But I mean, I'm for it. I think rules are made to be broken in this regard. Give me your takes.
Oh. If you have a number 34 Fernando Valenzuela jersey, throw it to the sky, because this was long overdue. Jaime Jarrín, he spoke about how he really made it a religion for Latinos in Southern California to follow this game. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I grew up in the 80s and I experienced Fernando Mania firsthand, but he changed the Dodgers forever. There's not a lot of guys that had an impact on the field and off the field like Fernando Valenzuela. And I did a video about a year or 2 years ago where I really put my fist down saying we need to retire Fernando Valenzuela. Everyone said that. I mean, it's not like it was an original take or anything, but what I always used to say is I used the chapter test. Can you write the history of the Dodgers without a full chapter on Fernando Valenzuela? The answer is no. You could write an entire book on the impact he's had for the Dodgers. And I think, too, when you consider the exception they made for Jim Gilliam back in 1978 when he passed away, they retired his number. Look, you have no excuse not to retire that number. So he impacted the game globally. I think it was a no-brainer. But I do, as happy as I am that they finally did it, it kind of makes me a little emotional saying it was a little bit overdue. It would have been nice. Jaime Jarrín, I believe, I saw somewhere where he said he had wished that Vin Scully was able to be there. But how about Mike Burrito, who passed away? It would have been nice for him to see. How about Bobby Castillo, who taught him the screwball? He passed away back in 2014. So I think it's long overdue. And as I asked Stan Casson, I said, does this open the door for some other Dodgers? Because I think you could make the case for Oral Hershiser, for Steve Garvey, for Don Newcomb, some other names that you could possibly retire. But yeah, no one will ever wear number 34 for the Dodgers, and it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I think, like, I kind of want to get back to your point about the Hall of Fame case. I mean, if you look at his WAR numbers, if you look at his entire body of work, yes, he does fall short as far as how you evaluate Hall of Famers, but still, when you consider how he stepped onto the scene, I mean, he was fantastic. I mean, 84 complete games and 24 shutouts. The workload for Fernando Valenzuela is ultimately why he won't be in the Hall of Fame, because pitchers were used differently. He threw that screwball, which took its toll on his arm. But I definitely think that he deserves some Hall of Fame conversation because, like I said, he impacted the game globally, and you can't not mention the relationship that the Dodgers had with the community of Los Angeles, because it was a very fractured relationship with the Dodgers and the Latino community because of the displacement of Chavez Ravine. He brought an entire demographic into Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers love to say we lead the league in attendance, 50,000 plus. And hey, 40% of those fans are Hispanic fans. So yeah, I mean, I think they absolutely, it was a no-brainer, but like I said, should have been done a decade ago, maybe, longer than that.
Yeah, no, I mean, great points, good stuff. Bringing up, what Jaime said about that, because then it would have been incredible to get people that Vin painted this picture to the greater world of what this man, what Fernando was doing to not just the Los Angeles team in the county and all that, but he was must see TV for, well, I guess must attend. He was a guy. He was Shohei in that day. you wanted to go buy that ticket to see the Dodgers in case Fernando was coming to town. You know, we saw, I think it wasn't in Houston where that lady ran on the field and kissed him on the mound or something like that.
Absolutely.
Like, there was Fernando mania was legitly a mania.
No, it's funny you say that though, because I saw Clint, someone goes, "Oh, he was basically Linsanity before Linsanity." I'm like,
Bruh.
Fernando Mania was insane. I mean, first 8 starts, he went 9 innings in each of those 8 starts. 8-0, allowed just 4 runs. First 89 and 2/3 innings, allowed 51 hits, 84 punchouts, 22 walks, had a .4 ERA. He helped lead them to that 1981 World Series. So, like I said, if I had a time machine, Clint, one of the things I would want to do is go back and experience Fernando Mania firsthand, but do not put Fernando Valenzuela and Linsanity in the same conversation, because El Toro was one of the game-changing moments, and I do hope that maybe he gets a chance to be considered for the Buck O'Neil Award, which is given out to an individual whose extraordinary efforts enhance baseball's positive impact on society. If you look at that definition, I think he absolutely did that. And then maybe the Veterans Committee that we saw brought in Gil Hodges last season. So,
it can take time. Hopefully Fernando's still alive and kicking by the time, if there's going to be a Hall of Fame, if there's a Hall of Fame case, this is the time it's going to happen. This is absolutely, like I said, this is going to be the window cracking to that conversation for sure. One last quick thing. We could dive into a lot more on this later, but does this open the door to retiring 55, to retiring, like Dave Luna brought up, number 36 with Don Newcomb? Do you pre-retire 22 for Kershaw?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about chapters, you can't talk about a chapter of Dodger history without 23 and Gibson in that home run. It's not as long of a chapter, but do you think there's going to be more consideration beyond this, or are they going to take it a baby step at a time?
Well, what Stan Kasten told us is that he's looking at how they're letting guys into the Hall of Fame and that the standards for that are changing a little bit. But I think you talk about Oral Hershiser. He's a guy that basically put this Dodgers team on his back in 1988. There is no 1988 World Series without the Bulldog. El Toro's in. I think the Bulldog has to be next. Steve Garvey, Ronce, Newcomb is also another guy. But favorite thing about Fernando Valenzuela is still the only guy to win that Rookie of the Year and Cy Young in the same season. Also won a Silver Slugger Award. So I want to see him in the Hall of Fame. But what do you think, though, Clint? Do you think they should retire Bulldog's number? Who'd be the next man up for you, Mr. Pasillas?
22.
Wow.
He's going to get there. I don't think anybody else is a true Hall of Famer, because and I don't want to dive in too much on this. Newcomb, very, very short shelf life. He had a lot of off the field issues that kind of dampened his career. Maury Wills is another guy who could be in that conversation, and I think that's what they established the legends of Dodger baseball. That's what that's for. You honor these legends. You don't need to retire the number. You can keep. Don't just completely blow up a rule that's been installed for decades for everybody. Fernando was by far the most deserving guy, and I don't think we're going to see another player get in under this type of circumstance. But if you think we're wrong, jump into the comments below. We want to read your thoughts on it. Maybe if it feels like the right thing, we'll talk more about this in another episode. We do want to move on. We got a lot of more good stuff to dive into.
Don't want to become the Yankees, right? Retire every single number.
Every single number. Number 2.
We have dollar signs at some point and just hashtags and
to be all
asterisks. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. So